Hello, August. How are you? It's Past Podcast. We'll be recording every day for the month of August. Having to remember not to say April is an adjustment since I just did this a couple of months ago. But this is the past, or the Past Podcast. And we're podcasting each day in August. So check out the show. You might find something new. Episode 118 of The Past is here. I'm your host, BT, hitting you with yet another episode. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to just jump right into it. Podcasts are being uploaded using Spreaker and being recorded by voice through the Blue Yeti microphone. Links are below. I forgot to do it in the last podcast, but I will remember to add pastpodcast.com. Always love timing. But I truly wanted to sit down because I had a topic that kind of hit close to me. And it's one of those challenges of doing podcasting, blogging, Twitch, Mixer, anything that involves interaction or response from others. And it's a challenging task to do, but it's an achievable task if you know how to do it right. And that is learning how to ignore the statistics. So I'm going to go into this in numerous directions, and we're just going to kind of let it ride out. So as the everyday user and by nature, we sometimes have a tendency to measure ourselves by getting, like, okay, I'll go with the legitimate and the easiest example. Anytime you go on Instagram, there's always someone you follow, or even on Twitter, that you'll come across who says, hey, do you want to get some follows, or do you want to get more likes, or do you want to get more, folks that are interested in checking out your page? And it's pros and cons to that. Like, first and foremost, if you have to buy friends on social media, then you may want to reevaluate your life. I'm just going to put it out there just like that, and leave it at that. But the add-on to it is, if you really and truly are, anything you do requires hard work. Anything you do requires that extra effort. And it's also kind of the spin-off factor of, if you're truly, it's going to be a matter of where you are with what you're trying to do. Meaning, if you're doing a podcast, or you're doing blogging, or if you're doing Twitch solely for the basis of it's a way to kill time, it's not really like, it's not your primary source of income, in other words, then you want to still give it your best effort, but you also don't want to, I guess, look at it as selling yourself short. But the biggest challenge of doing, and I'll admit this myself, when I do a podcast, after I've listened to it, after I've, rendered it, after I've broken it down, looked at it online, I will sit and get trapped in numbers and look at, oh, well, I've had this many people listen, or I've had this many people download the show, things of that nature. And sometimes it has a tendency to be a bit discouraging, but you also have to remember that nothing is built overnight. And if it did, it would be too easy in so many words. So you kind of almost have to accept or embrace that challenge, or that change that comes with what you're doing. And another factor to look at, and this is the easiest way to describe it, if you're doing a show, and even if it's a show that's unique from other shows, or a blog that's unique from other blogs, you have to be able to get that attention to where others can kind of see where you are with what you're doing. like I always use my twin as an example. I know I did the show with her yesterday. Shout outs to her with helping with that big time. That helped out a lot. But when if you go online and look up Barely Sane Nurse, she's literally the first tag. And the interesting part about it is, most companies or most people are saying, hey, yeah, you need to buy this, get the SEO, search engine optimizer, and, pay this extra money so you can stand out when people search for you online. Debatable. Very, very, very debatable. And it's only because it's not, that's not the only way that you have to get followers or get people to come to what you're doing or come to your page. You can always get yourself out there through just natural social media exposure. And I know I may have said this was going to probably be a topic for another day, but I'll talk about it now because it's relevant and it's something we don't think about. One of the best resources, and I'm still having to learn how to use it because I have it and I've kind of turned mine into a business page, and that's Pinterest. Pinterest is a very hidden Pinterest is a very hidden source of getting what you need to get accomplished. As far as getting your thoughts out there to people, because it's Instagram, but it's like getting Instagram in blotches, and you get information here and there, but you're not getting what somebody posted and a bunch of comments and likes. It's basically, hey, you want to learn how to do a blog? Here's a link. If you click on this picture, it's going to take you to a link that shows you how to work on a blog. If you want to find out how to make money from home, here's a link. This will show you how to make money from home. I initially, worked on Pinterest and doing it. I have to build that back up again because it's still, I won't say new to me. It's still new to me. I'm not going to even lie to myself. I feel as though it's an achievable task, and it's not hard to learn. It's not hard to grasp. It's just a matter of getting the right information to the right people in the right manner. Just like, I joke about it all the time. Hashtags and trends are how a lot of people know what you're doing or what's going on with your show or what you're talking about. I know at one point I would use different hashtags in my podcast, and it would generate traffic. Lately, I've used those same hashtags, and some people come along. Some people, I'll get likes from it. Sometimes I don't. The tough part about it, and why I'm doing this podcast today, is you don't want to get discouraged by the numbers, because you'll naturally want to look at the numbers. It's like taking a test, I'll even do one better. You're applying for a job. You've applied for the job, and you want to know what the the status of the job is, and it's an internal position, and you're wanting to know, well, are they going to look at my application? Am I a good candidate? Do I have a chance? Is there any positive in this? Like you're looking. It's not that you're being a warrior. You're overthinking it and wanting it to come out the way you expect it to be, instead of just letting it work out as it's meant to happen. And the hardest thing for people sometimes, and this is even myself included, is we sometimes have a tendency to want to have control of everything from A to Z, when in reality, it's just not like that. You have to some things you got to just let control be released and just kind of let it work for itself. And, like I said earlier, that falls into that easier said than done category, because there are moments that by nature, we want things to work out how we want them to work out, when it's just not meant to be that way. And, I can't sit down, and I'll come clean in saying it. I can't sit and expect Spreaker to be my tell-all be-all for traffic, because I get traffic from other places. Now, whether those other sources are going to give, well, here's how your listens have been for this show, or here's some reviews that you've gotten from the show, that's where that kind of all comes into play. And it's different for every platform, because what you have to look at least from podcasting, is somebody could listen to your podcast and they might have listened to it on iTunes. They didn't go to Spreaker, but they've heard the podcast. Or I've had people who listen to my shows on LinkedIn, and they'll comment on LinkedIn, because I had to kind of get a little bit of clarity on whether it was a good idea to post shows on LinkedIn or not. Confirmed it was, but it's just one of those things that you think about a factor in when you're looking at doing podcasting. I talk about it. I'm sitting here watching it now, like with Twitch, with streaming or Mixer. When you have a goal, like a friend of mine now, he's on the 100. He might have surpassed it, but he was on a 100 grind of trying to get 100 follows. He got 100 followers. So it's like you gonna and getting the followers is one thing, but then it's like, okay, if I do an episode, are at least 20 of those people gonna watch? Or am I recording at a time of the day when people actually are able to look at my show? Like, you get those things in your head, but it also helps you to talk to other people who do what you're doing. And I'm gonna say this because I've talked about it and I've seen it, and now that I'm kind of coming into my own form with mine, I'll admit it now. I've mentioned this on shows before. If you have an interest in doing podcasting, and you want to learn like little simple things, but also see how to be creative and be fun, look at Joe Budden's podcast. Like, just listen to his shows. If you listen to them, great. But if you watch it on YouTube, it's even better, because you literally get a visual of reactions, like live real time moments of things happening, things of that sort. So that's what I'm going to share. Like, my message to everyone today is don't let the numbers kill your vibe, because by nature everyone has this expectation of, I'm trying to get this many followers, I'm trying to get this many people to listen, I want this many people to know that I'm podcasting, and those build, and that comes with time. Like, I've been doing my show for 2 years, and I have listeners. I know people who check out my show. I've gotten folks who follow me on Twitter that likely are following the podcast, but on the same token, the tough part is you may not get a subscribe unsubscribe ratio through iTunes unless you find a third party program that does that type of information. So that's what I want to share with you all. If you're doing anything creative, art, drawing, painting, blogging, streaming, anything that is kind of forcing you to get your social market out there, and this, a friend of mine, she did like, social events. And social events can kind of have that discouraging kick to it at times, where people are supportive, but you got folks that are going to have their naysaying doubts about what you're doing, when it's like, I didn't do it for you. So if you don't like it, there's the door. You're not obligated to stay. And sometimes we forget that. And that's, that ties into everything that I just mentioned. Like I said, and that also includes podcasting. Like, if I got that caught up in numbers, I would have stopped a long time ago. Because at the end of the day, I still like what I do. I still love sitting and talking to you all and giving updates and information on sports, on video games, on music. When I was doing, like looking back when I did the show before, it was kind of like blotches and splashes of stories. Now it's, okay, well, we're going to talk about sports, and here's who's played, and here's what my record was, and I can kind of collaborate with it. Because last year when I did the weekly picks, it was good, but it was challenging, and, it just kind of went the way it did. So it's just something to think about. But I'm going to go ahead and cap off here and close out for the today's episode. As always, thanks for tuning in. If you want to go back and listen to the previous episodes, if you even brave enough to go back and listen to episode 1 when I first started and officially went to Spreaker as a source, even down to when I got the iTunes breakthrough, when I enhanced time on podcasting, when I got a co-host, everything, like all those shows, go back and listen. You won't be failed on what you hear. That's the one thing I can recommend out of, if nothing else. So that's what I'll leave you all with today. Again, thanks for tuning in. Until tomorrow. Tomorrow's the big show. I literally just got the links to my co-host, so I know he'll be checking that out. I'll be working on my grind probably most of the day, and tomorrow to be prepared, because it's a doozy. That's the best thing I can tell you. So, anyways, y'all be good, stay blessed, be positive. Peace. Another episode complete. Another show shared. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out any current shows or previous episodes. If you'd like to follow me on social media, You can look me up on the Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter under Past Podcast. If you'd like to go to the website, it is available at pastpodcast.com, where you can listen to this episode as well as previous episodes. Until next time, y'all take it easy.